Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Joe, now in his 30s, had always known there was something different about how he felt on the inside compared to what the world saw. From a young age, Joe found himself curious about the clothes traditionally worn by women. Whenever the house was empty, he would sneak into his mother's and sister's rooms to explore their wardrobes. One of Joe's earliest memories was trying on a soft floral skirt. The fabric felt smooth against his skin, different from anything he owned. The skirt was light, almost like wearing a cloud, and it swirled around Joe's legs as he twirled in front of the mirror. The joy in that moment was pure, untainted by the world's expectations. As Joe grew, so did his skill in selecting outfits. He learned to match colors and styles, creating looks that felt more her than anything else. A favorite outfit included a pair of sleek black pants paired with a flowing red top. It wasn't just about the clothes, it was about seeing himself in the mirror and recognizing the person staring back as the version of himself he felt most comfortable with. Makeup was another territory Joe ventured into with equal parts excitement and trepidation. He started with borrowed items, a swipe of mascara here, a dab of lipstick there. Each step in the process was like adding a piece to a puzzle, with the final image being a reflection of who Joe wanted the world to see. He became adept at using makeup not to transform but to reveal. A thin line of eyeliner to highlight his eyes, a touch of blush to bring warmth to his cheeks, and a shade of lipstick that felt just right. Despite the joy these moments brought, Joe kept them hidden, like a treasure only he knew about. The fear of judgment kept Joe's true self locked away, shared only with his own reflection. Yet he harbored a dream. To one day walk out into the world as Christy, the name he felt belonged to this side of his identity. Christy wasn't just a name, it was a promise of freedom, an unspoken hope for acceptance. Imagining life as Christy brought Joe moments of happiness in solitude. He pictured attending social events, not as an observer hiding behind a curtain of expectation, but as a participant, free and unburdened. In these dreams, Christy wore outfits that expressed her personality, vibrant dresses that flowed gracefully, tailored suits that spoke of elegance, and casual attire that whispered of comfort and confidence. The thought of being Christy in the real world was both exhilarating and terrifying. Joe knew the risks of stepping out from the shadows, of making the private public. Yet, the desire to live openly, to form connections with others who understood, grew stronger with each passing day. It was a silent call to adventure, to a life where Joe could be Christy, not just in the mirror's reflection, but in the laughter and conversations of everyday life. As Joe navigated the complexities of adulthood, the contrast between his public persona and the one he embraced in private became more pronounced. Work and social obligations demanded one version of him, while his heart longed for the moments when he could be Christy. The balance was delicate, a dance of shadows and light where every step forward was measured, every reveal calculated. Yet Joe held on to the hope that one day the world would meet Christy not with judgment but with open arms. He dreamed of a place where the clothes he wore and the name he chose would be seen as expressions of his true self, not reasons for exclusion. This hope, fragile and fierce, kept Joe moving forward, searching for the moment when discovery could lead to acceptance, when Christy could step out of the shadows and into the sunlight. Joe had heard about a place called Connections from a friend. It was a club where people could go to dance, have fun, and be themselves, no matter what clothes they wore or what name they chose. This sounded like the perfect spot for Christy to meet the world for the first time. Feeling both nervous and excited, Joe decided it was time for Christy to step out. She spent the whole afternoon getting ready, picking out an outfit that made Christy feel confident and happy. She chose a pair of dark jeans that fit just right and a sparkly purple top that glittered under the light. For shoes, she picked out a comfortable pair of black boots that made her feel like she could walk into any room with her head held high. As Christy looked at herself in the mirror, she felt a mix of feelings. She was proud of how she looked and felt ready, but also worried about what other people might think. Shaking off the worry, she reminded herself that tonight was about being true to who she was. When Christy arrived at Connections, the loud music and the sound of people having fun hit her all at once. She had imagined the club to be a place where she would instantly fit in, but instead she felt a bit out of place. The lights were bright, the music was louder than she expected, and everyone seemed to know each other already. Just as she was thinking about leaving, Christy saw a group of people who looked friendly and welcoming. Among them was a woman with long blonde hair who stood out because she looked so at ease with herself. Her name was Susan, and she had a warm smile that made Christy feel a little less alone. Taking a deep breath, Christy walked over to them. Susan noticed her right away and introduced her to the group. They started chatting, and Christy found out that Susan also loved dressing up and going out. Susan shared stories about her life, and Christy listened, feeling a connection growing between them. Susan talked about how she used to be married but realized she was happier expressing herself in her own way, wearing clothes that made her feel good. She explained how finding friends who understood her made a big difference in her life. Listening to Susan, Christy felt a sense of hope that maybe she could find the same kind of friendship and understanding. The more they talked, the more Christy felt comfortable. It was like finding a friend who really got her, someone who saw Christy for who she was and liked her just the same. They laughed, shared stories, and for a few hours, Christy forgot about her worries. As the night went on, Christy realized that coming to Connections was the right choice. It wasn't about the place being perfect, but about finding someone who understood her journey. Susan and her new friends made her feel welcome. And for the first time in a long time, Christy felt like she belonged. Before they knew it, the night was coming to an end. Christy and Susan exchanged numbers, promising to keep in touch and meet up again soon. Walking out of the club, Christy felt a mix of tiredness and happiness. It had been a long day, but a good one. She had taken a big step by going out as Christy, and it turned out to be one of the best nights of her life. As Christy headed home, she thought about the future. She knew there would be challenges, and not everyone would understand or accept her. But for now, she had found a friend in Susan, and that made all the difference. The night had shown her that there were people out there who would accept her for who she was, and that gave her hope. The first outing as Christy was a big deal for Jo. It was a night of firsts. The first time going out dressed as Christy, the first time meeting Susan, and the first time feeling like she belonged. It was a night that would stay with her, a reminder that being true to yourself is worth it, even when it feels scary. After their first outing, Christy and Susan started talking a lot. They wanted to have another night out, but this time they planned to make it even more special. They decided to go to a club known for being very friendly to people like them. It was a bit far away, so they thought, why not make it an adventure? They planned to stay at a motel nearby so they could take their time getting ready and not worry about having to go home late at night. In the days leading up to their adventure, Christy and Susan were buzzing with excitement. They messaged each other about what outfits to wear, which makeup would look best, and even what perfumes to use. It felt like preparing for a very important mission, and in a way, it was. It was about being who they really wanted to be, openly and freely. Christy decided on wearing a classy black dress she had been saving for a special occasion. It had a simple cut, but fit her perfectly, making her feel like a star. She also picked out some shiny silver shoes that matched the dress. To complete her look, she chose a light pink lipstick and some mascara to make her eyes stand out. Susan, on the other hand, chose a bright blue dress that made her eyes sparkle and her hair look even blonder. They both spent a lot of time choosing their outfits because they wanted to look their best, not just for everyone else, but for themselves. The day before their outing, they met up to try on their outfits and help each other with makeup. It was like having a mini party, just the two of them. They laughed, shared tips on how to apply eyeliner and blush, and enjoyed the excitement of getting ready together. It was a new experience for Christy, having a friend to share these moments with. It made everything feel even more special. Finally, the big night arrived. Christy felt a mix of nerves and excitement as she got dressed. She carefully applied her makeup, trying to remember all the tips Susan had given her. When she was done, she looked in the mirror and smiled. She was proud of how she looked and felt ready to face the night. Susan arrived at Christy's room, already dressed and looking amazing. She brought some extra glittery eyeshadow and suggested they add a bit more sparkle to their looks. With a few final touches, they were both ready. Standing together, they felt strong and happy. They took a moment to appreciate how far they had come, not just in their looks, but in their friendship. Stepping out of the motel, they headed to the club, their hearts full of hope for a great night. The club was everything they had hoped for and more. The music was loud, the lights were colorful, and the people were welcoming. As soon as Christy and Susan walked in, they felt like they were exactly where they were supposed to be. They danced, laughed, and talked with many different people. Everyone was so friendly and interested in hearing about their stories. For Christy, this was a revelation. She realized that there were many people out there who were just like her, looking for a place to be themselves without fear. The highlight of the night was when a kind man asked Christy to dance. She had never danced with a man before as Christy, and it made her feel accepted and seen. They swayed to the music, and for those few minutes, Christy felt like she was on top of the world. As the night went on, Christy and Susan became closer. They met new friends, shared their own stories, and felt a bond forming not just between themselves, but with the community around them. It was a night full of new beginnings and friendships. When the club finally closed, they weren't ready for the night to end. They walked back to their motel, talking about all the amazing things that had happened. They promised to keep this adventure in their hearts as a reminder of the joy and freedom they felt. A week later, Joe, who Christy truly was inside, started getting ready with a happy heart. The day had finally come for another outing with Susan, and this time they were going to a new club once again they had never visited before. Christy chose her outfit with care, picking a sleek dark skirt and a light sparkly top that shined like stars in the night sky. She wanted to wear something that made her feel brave and beautiful at the same time. After choosing her clothes, Christy sat down at her makeup table. She remembered all the tips Susan had given her and began to apply her makeup with care. Each brush stroke on her face made her feel more and more like the person she always wanted to be. Susan arrived at Christy's place a little while later. She knocked on the door, and when Christy opened it, she saw Susan looking amazing, wearing a dress that was bright and full of life, just like her personality. Susan had a big smile on her face, and she brought with her a small bag of makeup for any last-minute touch-ups. The two friends helped each other finish getting ready, sharing laughs and stories as they did. It was a simple yet special time filled with the kind of joy that comes from being with someone who truly understands you. When they were both ready, they looked in the mirror and couldn't help but smile at their reflections. They saw two happy, confident people looking back at them, ready to take on the world. Feeling excited and a bit nervous, Christy and Susan left for the club. The air was cool and the stars were out, making the night feel magical. They talked about what songs they hoped to dance to and the new friends they might meet. It was nice to have someone to share these moments with, someone who knew exactly what you were feeling. As they arrived at the club, the sound of music and laughter greeted them. They walked in hand, ready for whatever the night would bring. The club was alive with energy, and people were dancing and having a great time. Christy and Susan found a spot on the dance floor and let the music take over. They danced like no one was watching, feeling free and full of life. Throughout the night, they met many new people, each with their own story to tell. Christy felt a connection to these new friends, a sense of community she hadn't felt before. It was as if she had found a place where she truly belonged, where being Christy was something to celebrate, not hide. One of the most memorable moments of the night was when a friendly guy asked Christy to dance. It was a simple gesture, but it meant the world to her. It was a sign that she was seen and accepted for who she was. They danced together, and for those few minutes, nothing else mattered. It was just Christy, the music, and a kind person who saw her as beautiful and worthy. As the night came to an end, Christy and Susan found themselves sitting outside the club, not ready to go home just yet. They talked about their dreams for the future, the adventures they wanted to have, and the people they hoped to become. It was a deep, meaningful conversation, the kind that sticks with you long after it's over. Walking home, Christy felt a mix of happiness and gratitude. She was thankful for Susan, for the new friends they had made, and for the incredible night they had shared. It was a night that showed her the beauty of being true to herself, of living life openly and without fear. The sun was shining bright when Christy woke up the next morning. She stretched and yawned, still feeling the happiness from the night before. As she got out of bed, she thought about all the fun she had at the club with Susan and their new friends. After getting up, Christy started to clean up her room. She put away her dress and shoes from the night before, smiling as she remembered how good she felt wearing them. She also cleaned off her makeup table, putting away the makeup she used to get ready. It was like she was putting away pieces of a wonderful memory, one that she would keep with her always. Thinking about the future, Joe started to imagine a life where Christy wasn't just a part of him that came out sometimes, but was a part of his everyday life. He dreamed of a day when he didn't have to switch between Joe and Christy, but could just be himself all the time. Joe knew that getting to that day might be hard. There would be people who wouldn't understand and times when he would feel scared or alone. But remembering the joy and acceptance he felt those nights out gave Joe strength. He knew he had friends like Susan who would support him no matter what. As Joe thought about all of this, he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness about the future. But more than anything, he felt hopeful. He had taken big steps towards being true to himself, and he was ready to keep going, no matter what challenges lay ahead. Joe also thought about how important it is to have people in your life who accept and love you just the way you are. Susan's friendship had shown Joe that when you have someone who supports you, you can face anything. This made Joe want to be that kind of friend to others, too. He wanted to help other people feel as accepted and free as Susan made him feel. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.